Hello and good morning to everyone. Today we are going to discuss about supply chain management. What is supply chain management and the concept behind supply chain management? To start with, I would like you all to imagine two situations. First is what happens when you do not get your favorite ice cream. And the second is if you want to spend your vacation and you are not able to find an empty room in a hotel, what will be your reaction? In both the above cases, the consumer will either move to the competitor's product or will try to find out some other alternatives. Because any person or anyone who has an urge of having a favorite ice cream or spending a vacation will not change just because there is unavailability of your favorite product. And therefore, the person will either try to find out some alternative or will try to change the taste. Now, in both the cases or in both the situations, what would be the end result? The end result would be that the company will lose the customer, might be forever, and if not, then also the company has given an opportunity to the customer to buy and adjust their taste for some other products, which is not a good sign for the organization. Therefore, both the examples or both the situation gives us the importance of SCM or supply chain management. Every enterprise or organization, in order to meet the demands of the customers, need to make supply of material more effective and efficient. The companies are dependent on their suppliers to compete successfully in the global market as well as in the domestic market. Failing which, there is always an scope for the customer to move to the competitors or to some other alternatives. Therefore, supply chain management describes the network covering the various stages in the provision of products and services to the customers. Now, what are these stages? These stages include manufacturers, suppliers, transporters, warehouses, distributors, retailers, and so on. And whenever there is a break in the link of this suppliers, manufacturers, or the distributors or retailers, then there is a breakdown of chain of supply. Now in this slide, you might be seeing that the product moves towards in the positive direction towards the end users, because at the each step the product has an added value, and with this added value the product becomes a finished good and it reaches to the end user. While if we talk about the information is moving in the opposite direction from customer to the supplier. And if there is breakdown of this information, then definitely there will be a breakdown in the chain of supply. How we can overcome this? We can, or the companies can overcome this breakdown of chain of supply by improving the process from one end to the other. So what exactly is supply chain? Supply chain actually helps the organization in the flow of material and information to its customers. The organization should also make sure that this flow of material should reach the customer's requirement on time and with the desired quality specifications in a cost-effective manner. Now in supply chain, it is very important to maintain both the cost effectiveness and the responsiveness towards the customer. If any disbalance occurs between the two, then the supply chain is not good enough to cater to the customers. And there is always a chance that the company or the organization may lose a customer, which no one or no organization, no company wants in today's scenario. Now let's take an example of Coca-Cola. I guess every one of us knows about Coca-Cola and its operation in more than 200 countries. How does Coca-Cola operates in more than 200 countries? Again, it's because of supply chain management. Coca-Cola, because have a very good supply chain, therefore it is becoming a very big threat for all the soft drinks and the cold drinks in the market. As Coca-Cola reaches to the customers at the right time, so most of its customers do not have the chance to taste the alternative product. Because of which Coca-Cola is able to manage the customers and keep them intact with the brand. Now let's talk about what supply chain professionals can do to avoid this breakdown of chain of supply. Basically, the supply chain professionals have to find out the problems and then the solutions to avoid the breakdown of chain of supply. They have to actually recognize the delay or lag of time, the increase in lag of time to meet the customer's demand. What is the reason behind that? If the professionals are able to find out the reasons because of which the customers are moving towards the competitors, or they have the scope to move towards the alternative, then definitely the breakdown of supply of chain can be managed. Now let's discuss little about the links of supply chain. The links that is involved in supply chain management includes manufacturing, transportation, purchasing, and warehouse and distribution. Now, what is manufacturing and operations? Manufacturing and operations involves ingredients, raw materials, and other required things which are put together through a process to manufacture the end product. The quality and flow of these end products have to be monitored by supply chain professionals in order to meet the required specification by the customers. This is very important because in case if there is a failure in meeting the required specifications, again there is a breach in supply chain which cannot be afforded by any organization or the company. Next is transportation. Transportation is the movement of the product within the chain of supply through the different modes of transportation. Now, what are the different modes? It can be air, it can be truck, it can be railways, and so on. But then again, supply chain has to manage both, as we talked before, that the responsiveness towards the customer and cost effectiveness. For example, if I take an example of air mode of transportation, air mode of transportation have a quick responsiveness towards the customer, but then it increases the cost. So how will the organization and or the company take a decision in order to make a balance between the responsiveness and the cost? That is important for an effective supply chain. Next comes warehouse and distribution. Warehouse and distribution includes the place and location where all the end products that flows through the supply chain is stored in and is termed as inventory. Again, how much inventory has to be managed? This is a very big decision by the management, because if the inventory is huge, then the cost incurred is also big. So the management has to take into consideration how much inventory has to be maintained so that the cost is effective and the responsiveness towards the customer is also not delayed. Next comes purchasing. Purchasing leads to the purchase of the end products at the best price and the quality in order to meet the demand of the customers. Cost effectiveness and responsiveness again plays a very important role to have an effective supply chain. Hence, in supply chain management, several companies are involved with each other, wherein each company adds value to the raw material that is progressively processed into the finished goods and delivered to the customers in time, at the right place, and in the preferred manner. Therefore, supply chain management makes sure that the process is done in an efficient manner and that the quality of the finished product offered to the customer is up to the mark. Now, up to the mark, what does up to the mark means? Up to the mark is kept in line with the company's standards. Now, this process includes right method of transport, right quality, right quantity, right sources, right place of delivery, right time of delivery, right pricing, so that there is no scope left for the customer to be dissatisfied. Next, we are going to talk about the concept of SCM. SCM is a system that coordinates and integrates all the activities performed by the members of supply chain into a seamless process. As I told you that the information flow of information is very important. If this flow of information is not there from the end user to the supplier and there is any breach in between, then it becomes very difficult for the supplier to manufacture a product or to process a product and send it to manufacture at the right time. This information has to be seamless, has to be without any distortion, and has to be processed at the right time. Then only there can be any integration between the suppliers, manufacturers, warehouses, retailers, or stores efficiently. Without which no supply chain can be successful. Supply chain sets approaches so that merchandise is produced and distributed at the right quantities, right location, and at the right time. This not only minimizes the cost while satisfying the customers, but also enhances the responsiveness towards the customers. Supply chain can provide both tangible and intangible benefits to the organization. Now, what are the tangible benefits? Tangible benefits includes revenue growth, improved facility utilizations, optimized inventory management, and so on. While intangible benefits includes improvement in quality, improvement in customer satisfaction, and enhanced customer and supplier relationship. This all is done through supply chain management. Now, the concept of supply chain management is based on two ideas. First, that every product reaches the end user because of the cumulative effort of multiple organizations. And when we refer these organizations collectively, it is known as supply chain. Now, the second idea is that supply chain existed for a very long time. But most of the organizations did not pay any attention towards this supply chain and they were busy within their four walls. This resulted in ineffective and disjoint supply chains. But later on, the organization realized the effectiveness of supply chain activities, and they also realized in order to maximize customer value and achieve a sustainable competitive advantage, it is important to have an effective supply chain and that will result in the satisfaction of the customer needs with more effective and efficient manner. Later on, the organizations also realized that the supply chain are linked together through physical flows and information flows. Physical flows involve the transformation, movement, and storage of goods and material, as we talked about, because if we have more of inventory, then also the cost will increase, and if we have less of inventory or we have no inventory, then there can be delay in the responsiveness of the towards the customers. So this has to be taken into consideration. So physical flows involves the transformation, movement, and storage of goods and material, while the information flows have various supply chain partners. Allow various supply chain partners to coordinate their long-term relationship, because this information binds all the channel members together. If the information is delayed or distorted, then there is always a scope that the responsiveness towards the customers will be delayed. And once there is a breakdown in the chain of supply, then obviously we discuss this, that the customers have all the scope to move towards the alternative solutions, which any organization or the company may not like.